some awesome wealth education. But here in the Boom Boom Room, we're always building, banking, and doing big business. So we're glad to have you here this morning. And I'm super duper fired up and excited about my special guest that you will be learning from. This is Mr. Cord Burner coming to us this morning out of Arizona, where it is. Is it warm there right now?
Oh, it's gorgeous. I mean, you can see kind of out the window, but yeah, it's been 70 degrees. The last few days we've all been locked inside. So you see everybody is out here in Arizona. Everyone is still walking around. I mean, they're practicing social distancing, so they don't have, but there's a lot of, it's kind of a trained style that they're walking around in. It's really interesting, but everyone's still active. We're still doing great out here, and we're not necessarily on quarantine yet. I don't think officially, but most people are practicing social distancing. But they're active. They're active. They're out. People, I mean, restaurants are still. They have designated areas that you can sit as long as you've got 6 feet in between you and other guests. So they're innovative out here. It's beautiful, and we're taking advantage of it.
Hey, well, enjoy it while you still have it. Definitely.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
You're still being safe. So, guys, listen. So, I have grown very fond of Cord over this last year because this gentleman, as young as he is a wealth of wisdom and knowledge in the financial realm. And so, you know how we go to school and we get a formal education that helps us to make a living, but it's an informal education, the things that we won't learn in school that they don't teach us to help us to make a fortune. And Cord is literally setting people on the path to make fortunes, or at least do a whole lot better for their family and truly leave legacies. So I want you to listen up to this information because there's not many people who would be sharing the information that we're going to be sharing today. So, Cord, I want to jump right in so we can just like juice all the time that we have here because I know our time is kind of limited. Let's talk the acronym PRA. If you're taking notes, write this down. PRA, that stands for Private Reserve Account. What is a private reserve account?
Yeah, it's a system that the wealthiest folks on the planet have been utilizing for a very long time. In fact, since 1972 is when most of this started to progress on a massive scale. It's a bank on yourself concept to where instead of relying on a system or an institution that I have to admit they've done really well at marketing, but they haven't really given us the benefits that we deserve. And why do we continue to use some of those banking institutions? Well, we just don't know better. And it's the easiest thing in the planet. When you understand what others are doing and it's profitable, predicted, and it's something that's proven, you want to follow those people. You don't want to follow the masses. And I think we've fallen into this trap of following the masses that has gotten us into this really interesting spot. I mean, we saw this in 2008 when banks were folding up. We had to use our taxpayer dollars to bail them out. And now we have less returns in those institutions than we've ever seen historically. You move $1, you're charged $15 just to move your own money.
Crazy.
So how do we, it's insanity. So a lot of it is just an education platform on how to take back our earning rights and opportunities that these institutions have marketed and kind of instructed us to keep our money in. So it's this major shift. How do I put more into my family's pocket, into my communities, to where I can bring that change around here? It's just a different way of investing that gets better results. And that's the short answer.
So basically, we've been conditioned and programmed to do things a certain way with our finances, and how we've been conditioned basically has not led to our economic freedom. And these institutions, such as the bank, have profited off of our lack of financial education to their betterment and our detriment. Yep. And so now what you're saying is, hey, I want to let you all know that there's a way that you can be your own bank. You can literally set yourself up to make money like the banks do. So talk to us a little bit more about that, because people maybe they've heard the term that they could be their own bank, but explain that a little bit more. I mean, how can we align our finances so that we can be our own bank and, I guess, do some of those creative things with our money that banks do?
So we need to establish what the banks are doing currently then. So
Okay.
what rights and privileges do the banks have that we're unaware of that we could have as well? Because when we think about the national rate of return in a checking or a savings account, it's as close to zero as we've ever seen historically. It's 0.25% across the board.
Wow.
Maybe some of you guys, I've seen people have as high as 1%, which they're really proud of, which is kind of disheartening to me that we're happy with a 1% return. I mean, where have we come from to where we are now? You go back 25 years, there were banking programs that would give you interest rates as high as 6 and 7%, which is very respectable. But the banks, so they tend to have very large buildings, and they have just an incredible amount of buildings that also have people inside of those buildings that they have to pay in the form of salaries, maintenance that needs to be done. So what does this mean? It means that your money can't be sitting in a vault collecting dust. They give you 0.25%, but what does the bank do with it? They lend it to others, and they reap the rewards. So whether that's in the form of a mortgage or the form of a credit card, they're making very large returns. Now, we know that that interest isn't going to you, the owner, because it's 0.25% is what they're giving you. I'm paying the interest, the borrower, so the bank wins on very large margins in between. So the question is if you could become or position yourself to have those rights and privileges, do you think it would be a little bit easier to create and attain wealth?
Absolutely.
You have to position yourself. So once we position ourselves to have access to things that the banks currently do, well, it just all rolls uphill. It makes it easier. It's not, the world isn't against us. We just have to use proper tools. And when we use the proper tools, it gives us access to the finer things in life. Money compounding in a safe atmosphere has been proven over history to grow much more effectively.
I love the sound of that. Money compounded in a safe atmosphere. So you're giving people several things that they want. You're giving them the power of compound interest, which they call the eighth wonder of the world, and you're giving safety. So this is pretty cool, Court, because most people think that they have to give up one for the other, right? Don't typically people think in order to get higher returns, they have to give up some of that safety. So let's talk about that, because as people explore this, they're thinking, oh, all right, they're probably talking about some high risk investment where you can lose all your money. Stay away from that. Stay away from that. But that's not what you're talking about at all. So let's talk about some of the safety, what ensures the safety of the private reserve account.
Yeah, so I like to use an analogy that is, close to home in business, because we often are looking for these large swings out there in anything in life, right? To show us that we did something to get the major result. But often it's doing the small things that create the big result, right? It's going to the gym every single day. It's going, coming to work prepared and dressed, even though there's nobody else around you. It's that look good, feel good so that you can present well. And it's these small things we do every single day that create the massive results. And it's the same thing in business. Einstein, you mentioned him. He talked about compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it earn it. Those who do not pay it. And we see that every single day in the form of credit cards, to where we're paying that guaranteed compound interest to the bank, but we neglect our own compound interest in believing in these institutions. So how does this happen, and where are the incremental gains that create the massive results? Well, if you can get market-like returns, but you can never go backwards. I mean, think of this: if you were gambling, right? I'm not a big gambler, but if you were, it's a great analogy. You sit at the blackjack table, and if you know that you're going to push, or you can never bust, meaning that you can never lose, would you double down and go all in every single time? Of course. And when you have that ability and you get those incremental gains every step of the way, well, your money is always compounding. You're never in reset mode. That's a big thing we're seeing right now in the market. People are going into reset mode. 11 years of returns have been wiped out in almost 3 weeks.
Wow.
11 years. So imagine if you would have had this system to where you could capture those returns and never go backwards, even in these hard economic times. Capture those 11 years, get the upsides, never go backwards, and then do this at a tax-free state. Now, this is something that I really want to hit on. We can address it a little bit later, but these systems allow you to compound more effectively, and it allows your money to be sheltered from the IRS, which is going to be very important to where we're going in the future.
Well, you just said some really powerful things there. One is being tax-free, and the other is being able to never lose money, never lose money. So I think about the people who recently, like one of my cousins just lost 20,000 in their 401k. I've heard a lot of other horror stories about people and their 401k has become no 1Ks. It's just like, but now they're scared to even, they don't know what to do with that money. But you're telling me that if they had their money in the private reserve account in the PRA, when the market dropped, are you saying they would not have lost money?
Contractually guaranteed. So you're not buying my opinions on it. This is backed up by gigantic insurance companies.
So
okay, large institutions, people that have been in business 120 years that manage billions and billions of dollars. So it's written inside of their contracts that you will never go backwards. And it's also written that you can get the upsides of the market. So if you could only get the upsides of up to 14%, most people would be grateful to have a double-digit return. I would, and that's what I seek every single year. If I can get a double-digit return, or even maybe an 8 to 9% return every single year, once again, money compounds much more effectively and aggressively. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get that every year, but if we look at the facts and historical data, the last 25 years, if we average those out, it's done 8.97%. which a lot of people would be grateful for, especially in today's markets. So imagine if you got that for 25 years and you never went into reset mode, you never lost your money, what would you have today? What would you have today? Even when we see, the 401ks turning into 201ks, all of this madness, what would you have had? So if you can't get the ballpark swings, but you can get to first and second and third base, without even trying, eventually you're going to hit a home run. So it's just setting yourself up for success is really what's happening, is allow yourself to be set up for success. Don't absorb all this negativity that people are giving us.
Preach it.
One of the books that I've been reading that's honestly, it's turned into my favorite book. It's Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil.
Yes.
And it talks about where we get our information from and the institutions that are painting us, in my opinion, to be robots. They give us instructions on how to live our life, and they're removing the critical thinkers, which is a big problem for me. If you're not able to critically think, then you live somebody else's lives and beliefs, and then one day you wake up and you say, who am I? What person am I? So we have to figure out, what do we want in our own lives, what type of relationships, what type of monetary success, and then we need to find a style of teaching that is going to get us that. Instead of taking all these opinions, focus in on something that resonates with you, remove everybody else's, and then just focus on that one thing. So I kind of got off on a tangent, but I really love that book and that sentiment, because it really carries over into investing. Who you absorb or the type of information that you bring in is going to determine your investing as well. So find one person that you really resonate with, that is getting results, not just talking about them, that has the results, and then follow those principles and make sure that you remove everyone else's opinion, because you can get drowned and inundated with information, and then you just go into this paralysis through analysis, and then you don't do anything, which is the worst thing you can do. By doing nothing, you're getting nowhere, and then you are a product of your environment. But if you're getting out and doing something, for it, then you can create your own outcome. This is the best time to do things. Everyone is now sheltered in their homes. This is the best time to double down. You can get a hold of people on a whim, and this is where the millionaires are made. And that's why I'm showing up every single day. Yeah. In my suit. I had somebody stop me as I was walking in, and they're like, "Look, you have nobody to impress." And I said, "Look, this is look good, feel good," was my response. And she said, "Okay, that makes sense, right? I dress for myself. I don't dress for others." It brings me confidence, which then I can bring to others. So it's
Mm.
just a positivity thing that I'm focusing on, and I just want people to win, and I trust people feel that as well.
Cord, you are taking us to Money Church today. I'm serious. I'm getting fired up and excited about this information. And hopefully, you all who are in the listening audience, you are too. You should be excited about winning. You should be excited about learning. You should be excited about getting released and breaking through all the things that have held you back in the past. And oftentimes it's our lack of financial education that has held us back because we don't know what we don't know. Many times it's not that the information was brought to you and you didn't take advantage of it. That was some cases, but most of what Cord is talking about, nobody is readily out here teaching this to the masses and giving this to the average and ordinary person. But now, because of the Make Wealth Real movement, all of that has changed. That's why I love having this money conversation. You guys should love having these types of money conversations because it just puts you in a different frame of mind. So yes, we're talking about the PRA, but as you heard Cord, we're also talking about putting on that millionaire mindset. If you want to have millions of dollars in your bank account, it starts with having a millionaire mindset, as you can tell that he has. So quickly, I want to say hello to AJ. Thank you for the compliment, AJ. Hello, Jose and George Sandifer. If anybody has a question for Cord, you can type it in here and we'll put up your question so we can get that answered because he is our money's answers man for today. Cord is a professional wealth accumulation expert, helping so many people in the financial realm. So let's talk about who typically takes advantage of a private reserve account, because I heard, like, is it something like only 6% of the people in the United States even have a PRA?
Yeah, and they tend to be the wealthiest people on the planet. They fall on the other side of the scale.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're doing it, it should, if we were critical thinkers, we'd be like, well, if they're doing it, I want to follow that success.
Yes.
But often we operate on information that is 40 to 50 years old. And we're trying to make it relevant in today's markets. I mean, today is so much different than 40 years ago. I'm only 31 years old, and I remember when I was a kid, what we talked about then versus what we should be doing now. Mm-hmm. Technology has progressed on a massive scale. You see TVs that, we have one in the office that's like it's massive. And one person can hold it up now versus in the past, you would have had to have 15 people to move that 300-pound TV.
True.
And that's exactly, we're carrying that 300-pound TV into our investing life as well. We're buying these, buy term, invest the difference, set it and forget it mentalities that don't work for today anymore, for anyone anymore. It's proven. Those people that went through 2008 spent 10 years recovering. Then they had an 11-year run, and then that set it and forget it mentality then was wiped out in 3 weeks. So if you're always going into this reset mode, then you can never get where you want to be. Take relevant information. Webinars weren't active then. I mean, the door knocking world is basically non-existent. This is the new door knocking world.
Right.
It just is. You just need to have relevant information. We need to follow people, that 6% that are staying updated with what and how to make money. And this is the system they're using. And you can see that the top 6%, I wish it was more weighted into the hardworking folks. I don't like saying middle America. I don't think that's a great word to use, but I use the hardworking folks of America. Okay, that's how I identify with people, because if they're using it, that means we should be using it 3 to 4 times more than anybody else. We should be doubling down, tripling down. This is the time to do it. So do what the successful people are doing. Don't talk to your grandfather or your uncle that has zero credibility that's trying to pour into your life. Let's pay attention to the people with credibility, because they're the people that are going to lead us to where we want to be.
Wow, what wise words from a very young man who knows so much and is helping so many people. And so the majority of the people that we're talking to today would be in that hard-working American frame of reference right here. So we are the hardworking Americans. So what he's saying, guys, is why not look at what others are doing and now apply this to your life? If it's good for them, it's good for you. It's just been hidden from you. Nobody's been talking to you and even to let you know a private reserve account is accessible or something that you should be doing. I have this book called What the Rockefellers Do.
And it's great book. I love it.
Isn't it awesome how they use this concept of family banking to perpetuate their wealth and leave a legacy for their families that's lasted hundreds of years. So, Cord, now you mentioned the word tax-free. Let's talk about that, because one of the 4 challenges, financial challenges that we face here in America is the government taxes shifting our money away from us. So what's unique about this private reserve account that's going to help us win in this tax lane?
So I want to address why it's so critical. To start out, we have to look at where our tax system is. And often I talk to people and say, well, do you feel like you're not paying your fair share in taxes? And obviously, there's no one that wants to send more money to the IRS. But the facts are, is we're at the lowest historical tax rates we've ever seen for 80 years. 80 years, and more people than ever feel like we're drowning in taxes. But taxes, they tend to relate to something very critical. It's debt, economic debt. And we just had a stimulus bill that was passed through that is now going to create $2 trillion more than we anticipated on our debt. And they're overspending $1 trillion a year, right? So when the government sits down and they say, how much money are we going to budget? And then their expenditures at the end of the year, almost for, I don't know the exact number, but they've overspent for way too long, decades. They add $1 trillion to our deficit every single year. This year, we're going to add at a bare minimum $3 trillion, which is a very real problem, because eventually we have to pay debts. It can't be carried forever. So when you guys think about who we owe our money to, right, who we're indebted to, the often answer becomes China, Japan, and Russia, right? We think we owe other foreign countries more than we owe ourselves, which is the shocking factor. The Social Security system's drained. We owe that more than we owe all 3 of those countries combined, right? So let's just kind of think of this logically. We've got the lowest historical tax rates we've ever seen. We owe way too much money to ourselves internally, and we owe multiple countries. So where do we imagine taxes have to go? It's a basic formula. Taxes are going to have to increase. In fact, in 2026, it is guaranteed. January 1st, 2027 rather, is when the Trump tax cuts will expire. And we've seen administrations today that are proposing that if they're in office, that the hardworking Americans would pay as high as 51% tax on their money. Wow. If you do very well for yourself, it would be as high as 71%. So to put that in perspective, most of us are paying 22 to 24% tax. 24 to 51 is a huge jump. That means you have 49 cents on the dollar to spend. So do you want to have something that's going to protect you from a rising tax system? Because once again, go and fact check me. Go on the Social Security website, look up Social Security and see if it's what they call an unfunded obligation. What that means is that they're liable to pay it, but if they don't have the funds to pay it, then it goes unfunded. So those folks will not, maybe it's going to be a reduction in Social Security. I don't think that it's going to be gone for those people that are collecting on it, but I don't count on it for my future. I'm paying into a system that I'm likely never going to use, which is kind of, it's struggling mentally. But why do we want to have tax-free assets? Because it protects us against an overspending habit the government has had, not just for this generation, but the generations before X, Y, Z. I mean, they've been overspending for a very long time. So have it in a tax-free state to where even if they do change, which I expect they're going to change and double, there's people that are proposing that it would triple our current tax rates. Protect yourself against an overspending habit of a governmental body that really doesn't have our interest at heart. And that's just it. It grows tax-free, pay today's tax rates, then acquire and spend your money in a state to where you never have to report to a governmental body ever again. I'm not anti-government. I'm anti-anyone taking too much money from me and my family. It just is the way it is. I want things that are going to return value. their taxation system doesn't add any additional value to me. So why would I send them more money? Protect yourself against that overspending habit.
Absolutely. And so people have heard of tax deferred. They hear IRAs, they know it's tax deferred. Now they're hearing what? There is a vehicle where I can get my money out tax free. For most people, that's unheard of. So I just posted here, would you rather get taxed on your seed or your harvest? Of course, you'd rather get taxed on the seed than the harvest. But talk about that a little bit and make that clear for people, because people were like, oh, yeah, it's tax deferred. But that can't even compare to what we're talking about here.
Of course. And that sentiment is now becoming the kick the can down the road type of investing approach. Meaning I'm not going to solve this issue now. I'm going to wait till, I'm just going to keep ignoring it, keep ignoring it, keep ignoring it. And when you ignore something for so long, then it comes, you just deal with the consequences. And that's where our IRAs and 401ks are currently. If you have these programs, you can start to convert them into tax-free options, but you have to make the change. You have 6 years to make the change. That's when the Trump tax cuts expire. So for those folks that feel like, well, then I'm lost, right? There's nothing that I can do. That's a fallacy. In fact, you should contact MWR and Bunmi immediately, because you have 6 years to remedy what is going to happen in the next, 20 and 30 years. So, taxed on the seed versus the harvest. Okay, so I'm going to step back and kind of get into that analogy, because I grew up, my grandfather, he was a farmer. So I think I kind of draw to this more than most. It's, would I rather pay money on the seeds before the money grows, or do I want to pay it at its largest point, the harvest, to the government? Okay, you have those choices. Now, invest in vehicles. The obvious answer is, right, I want to pay it on the seeds. But the reason why this is so critical is because with our 401ks and IRAs, we're at the harvest. Okay, we're at the largest growth point in most cases, even with the setbacks that we're ever going to see. So pay, if you can make the change, make the change. It's a fallacy that you want to defer. Make that change. So I kind of get off tangent, but I just get so passionate about this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why 401ks have been so prevalent for so long. That's a really big question we often get. And it's really because of the era of Ronald Reagan, when he was acting, because he would do something very unique 6 months out of the year. He would stop working. Why would he stop working? Because tax rates at the time when he was acting were as high as 94%.
Wow.
So he took the next 6 months off. And that's when the 401k became so prevalent, because it's like, well, I don't want to pay as high as 94%. So defer the tax, defer the tax, defer the tax. So we were at this incline. And now we're on the opposite side to where tax rates are historically low. So it's pay the tax, pay the tax, pay the tax, because we know it has to, well, right? It has to go the other way. So if you need help and assistance with that, connect with Bunmi. She'll connect you with me, because there is something you can do about it. Don't surrender. Don't put your head in the sand. Make sure that you're paying tax on the seed versus the harvest, because there are options. There are ways that you can get yourself out of this economic mess. You just have to be a force or a hand to reach out, right? Yeah. We're not offering handouts. We're offering hand ups. So if you want a hand up and you want to figure out how we all can get to work and to remedy what's going to transpire or happen in the next 10 years, now's the time. Don't sit on the sidelines, because otherwise you're just going to get beat by taxes, and nobody wants, that's when you can surrender, because there's nothing you can do about it. Fix it today so you don't have to worry about it tomorrow.
Yes, be proactive. And talking about what may come in the future, Amed Hazel says banks in the UK have a negative interest rate, meaning you pay them to keep your money. Crazy, but don't think we won't see that here. Talk just a little bit about what you feel about what Amed just said.
I mean, that you see it in UK. If it's happening in UK, it can leak into other places. It's just like China. At first, we thought we were all immune to the COVID virus, and now it's more prevalent here than in other countries. So, it's a really interesting environment that we're coming into. But make no mistake, we've been here before. 2008, we've already seen this. I trust that we're not going to have to bail the banks out again. In fact, I would hope that if we did have to bail the banks out again, that maybe there's going to be some major changes and just take control of your own life, right? Become your own bank so that we don't have to rely on others. Don't rely on institutions that are only about their investors, that are only about appeasing the top percent. Create your top percent. Do it in an environment that can give you success. Negative interest rates, paying money to have your money in the bank, we're already doing that. It's just you're going to have more fees. You're going to have less opportunity. It's just going to come. We're going to be in a lockdown era if we don't do something about it.
Wow. Wow. So thank you, Amed, for stopping by. Guys, Amed is one of my great friends, helping people in the financial arena too, in the mortgage note business. You can go to AmedHazel.com, AmedHazel.com to find out more about him. And he was a guest on the WOW show, the Women of Wealth show that I do on Tuesdays at noon. So you can go to my page, Make Wealth Real with BunmiMore.com. Make Wealth Real. Well, wait a minute. On Facebook, it's just Make Wealth Real with Bunmi. All right. Make Wealth Real with Bunmi. And see that interview with Amed. So LaNette asks, so what exactly do we need to do with our money? How would you answer that question, Cord?
Well, so I always have to throw the disclaimer that everyone has different needs. But one thing that I think most advisors, whether they're with us or against us, it doesn't matter. Most advisors are recommending that people get into a tax-free state. So look into opportunities like the private reserve account. Just because you haven't heard about it doesn't mean it's too good to be true. And the analogy I like to use is the building of a rocket, because I have no mathematical understanding how they put together a rocket. I don't understand the principles behind it. My basic brain only knows they put fuel into it to get it off the ground. But just because I don't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I just don't have the right people in my corner. So we need to have the right people in our corner that can give us the education and tools, but once again, the wealth that you're using. So it's going to be by a case-by-case basis. I'm not going to throw a blanket statement out there, but what I do know is that we need to do more things that the top 6% are doing, which tend to carry around, that they tend to have in-house private reserve accounts. Not saying that that's 100% of the solution, but look into and connect with the specialists, with MWR Financial that can give you the attention that you need. So what should we exactly be doing with our money? We should be, there's just so many things that I could throw at you. There's a lot of opportunity. The best thing we can do right now, in my opinion, is start, we have 6 years to make a change. Start to put it into tax-free states, but most importantly, get connected to the correct sources. So get connected with Bunmi, who will connect you to myself, and then we can look at it from a holistic point of view, rather than saying you need to do this 100% of the time. That's not the right answer. But the answer is get connected with the source that can help you get to where you want to go.
And Cord, one of the reasons I appreciate you so much is because 100% of the time that I've worked with you, it's always about doing what's best for the end consumer. Not doing what's best for you and your accounts and you getting a sale or anything like that. It's always about doing what's best for that person. So if you have to say to that person, this is not for you right now, or I think you need to align these things like this first, you're always about putting that person in the best position to win. And I really appreciate that. Guys, you really do us a favor. Like, love, comment on this video, whether you're seeing it on Facebook or whether you're seeing it on YouTube. Definitely share it, because people need this information. They will lose at the money game. They will lose at retirement. They will lose at wealth accumulation if they do not get this information. And so now, Cord, who are the best people to get a PRA? Like when is the best time? And then people say, well, I'm already at retirement time. I'm 60 years old. I'm 65. I'm 70. Is it too late for me? So let's talk about that.
Yeah, the people that are on we'll phrase it as the younger side of life, right? You get fine wine, right? It gets better the younger we get, and that's the way that I'll phrase it. But for those folks that are in their retirement era, they're in their kind of the nest egg, or the spending of the nest egg rather, it's the best time. You can, because I mentioned about this 6-year change, that's when you want to start to make it. Because if they vote in a new tax system, you're going to be subject to whatever they vote in at the time. 401ks, you're expecting to pay 24% tax on your money. Well, if they vote in a new tax code at 51%, that means you have a lot less spending ability. So start to make the change now. And for those Social Security users as well, that's where we can bring a lot of value to you. So make no mistake, if you're on the other side of life, we actually can help you at a much higher level. But that doesn't mean the people that are just getting started, we can't assist as well. It's instilling the proper tools to create success. Those people that are young and have time for them, this is incredible for. But the people that are already on the opposite side as well, that think that, well, I'm already set in my ways, make no mistake, we can assist you on a very large scale. So from the people that are getting started to the retirees, and everyone in between, we can certainly assist. And just as Bunmi said, there's oftentimes that I say, you know what, you're actually doing great. You don't need my assistance in this area, but who do you know that we can impact? It's a very rare conversation. I wish I had that more often, saying that I could not help people, because that means they're in the right positions. But just get connected, see what your opportunity is, and you never know you just don't know what you don't know. So I take pride, like Bunmi said, in telling people that I can't help them. And it tends to bring great results. The more people I say I can't help, the more people that tend to get my attention. And because they connect others and they say, well, it wasn't about him, it was about me. And you need to find somebody that's about you and not about their investment option. It's about you.
Absolutely. And Cord, when I first heard this information, I got super excited because I always keep myself open for ideas and people who can help me to achieve dramatic wealth and truly leave an inheritance to my children's children. And so you just recently helped my middle daughter, who's just 21, with a private reserve account. So I was so glad that she was open, not thinking, oh, I got plenty of time. I'm just too young. And I don't mind you using an example of my daughter and then also my cousin. So just tell a little bit, what have you done for them? How much brighter have you made their futures?
Yeah, I mean, I think of your daughter, and what an amazing personality. It's truly for you as a mother, that must be some of the most amazing experiences that you can watch. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is that when I have children of my own, that they'll come to the table, you kind of pour into them, but then she made her own decision, right? Yeah. She said, this is my own decision. And what's neat about that is because she's so young, she's going to have so much tax-free ability in her later years that it does not matter what happens in the future for her, because she set herself up for wealth. Yeah. The Vanderbilts, the Kennedys, the Rothschilds, the book that you mentioned earlier, what is it? Now it's left my mind. The Rockefellers. Yeah, there's a reason why they set themselves up for success, because wealth is the only opportunity. And when you leave that as the only opportunity, well, that's what you get. So it's setting yourself up. For her, she's just redirecting her money in a state that's going to serve her needs and her family more than it's going to serve in a governmental body or 50 years of misinformation. So that's the first thing, is that she has taken a hold of her own future, which is it's just an incredible and a great thing. She's going to invest in herself enough to where she'll have well over 6 figures in income, of tax-free income, mailbox money for her entire life. It's really neat. And then for your cousin, he's shifting his money out of the hands of the bank so that they're not getting all of, so that the bank isn't getting the reward on his money. It's just very basic. They're the wealthiest people on the planet, never allow anyone to make more money on their money than they do. But we've neglected that. So he made the shift of where he could capture the results, which is going to get him to where he wants to be much quicker. And he gets to now pass that on to his children. So it's established in his legacy forever. a rinse and repeat strategy that's just going to grow the economic wealth of their personal lives. And it's just going to be I just can't wait to see how their family develops, and then where we get to just continue this cycle and just this real information cycle. I'm just excited.
I'm sitting here excited and feeling really emotional inside, because this is of such importance to me, because I've always been the type of person, I want my family to be different because I came this way, because I showed up here on the earth. I want to truly make a difference. And it is learning these things that have been hidden from us. And now, not just in the knowing, but in the doing. Me encouraging my daughter, you got to get this information. You got to take action now. You got to apply it. Imagine what this could mean for our family. And then getting all of my children set up, but then the financial education piece, because we don't just want to accumulate wealth and not have the mindset to perpetuate it. That's what we're talking about here, guys. Not just, a vehicle to help you in your retirement, or just, to align your finances better. That's great. But let's look at the holistic picture, the bigger picture here now, of getting that financial literacy with it, getting an understanding behind the product of what we're doing. So this can be legacy money. So you can enjoy it here and now and in your future. And then when you're gone, the money can perpetuate. So your great grandchildren will know your name, just like they know the Rockefeller's name.
Yeah.
Just like you and your family know the Rockefeller's name, and you go to New York and you go to Rockefeller Center. And because of that legacy that they left, everybody in the world has heard of Rockefeller Center. Well, who's going to know your name? Go ahead.
I kind of want to wrap this in a pretty bow and kind of take all of what we've talked about today and what's the critical part of this. Mm-hmm. And I think you said it best, action. We often sit on the sidelines and we're often reading all this information, and we take in this information and we neglect to do something with it. And most people are in that stage. They're digesting and ingesting so much information from different schools of thought, meaning like you have one pastor that's teaching one way that tells you that this is the way that you want to live and how you're going to, enjoy your kingdom or the life after. And then you have someone else that's saying, well, actually, you need to do it this way. That can create conflicting messages that will create paralysis, because you're like, well, who's right? Is it him or is it her? And that's why we have to take all of the noise out of what we're doing, take action, go through this self-discovery stage, and connect with the people that enrich your life. I want to be around people that inspire me. Bunmi, Dr. Darrell, the NWR movement, the shift that we're making mentally is where I want to hitch, where I want to be. Because it's about improvement. It's not about what is so, it's what can be, right? What is what it is. Now, how do we get from this point to the next level? And it's typically through action. It's going out, it's doing the work, connecting with the people, the very basics. It's just the basic things that we neglect. If the acquisition of information was all it took, we'd be ran by professors. You'd have billionaires that would be professors, but in fact, they tend to be, not, I don't know how to say this PR, but they don't tend to be the wealthiest people on the planet. It just is what it is. So it's the going out and doing that creates the results. So go out and seek the information, go out and get connected with the people, start to do something about it. Don't sit on the sidelines. That's where you're going to get hurt, and you're never going to change anything.
Wow. Man, I appreciate this information that you've given today. And there's a short, 2 or 3 minute video on the Profit Reserve account, guys, that you've got to see. So just inbox me and request that video. I'll send it over to you, my digital business card, so you can really grasp the concept of what we're talking about even more so in just 2 minutes. And then if you definitely want to be hooked up with Cord, and you should want to get that connection, we'll make sure that you get the connection and find out more about this Make Wealth Real movement, how you can be your own bank, how you can be able to have that tax-free free money? Absolutely. Just all of those wealth concepts that you deserve, not just to know about, but to have applied to your life. So I want you to, again, inbox me. I'll get that video to you. Find out more about the Make Wealth Real movement. Any questions that you have, we'll get those answered, and we'll get you hooked up with a consultation with Cord too, if you decide that you want that. Cord, any last closing words to wrap this up before we say goodbye? Because I know our hearts, what we want for ourselves, we want for everyone else. That's why you decided, Bunmi, sure, I'll come on and I'll do this video with you because I truly care about people. And at this time, I want you to inspire people, because people are in fear. They don't know what to do. They think that maybe now is the time to move backwards and stay still instead of pressing forward. What would you say to people with this COVID-19 and what's going on in the economic landscape of America? What should our mindsets be?
Yeah, our mindset should not be surrender. And I think some people have gone to that state to where they're staying in home, they're not making the phone calls, they're not connecting with people, and they're taking this as an opportunity, vacation. This is not vacation time. This is where everyone digs down, and this is where opportunity and millionaires will be made. And you can elect or participate in this, but you have to go to work. Connect with your neighbor across the street. They're home. Maybe you don't go and shake their hand, but maybe you sit. I've seen people that are like standing on their balconies and they're requesting people's phone numbers so that they can talk on the phone and wave at them across the street to get connected. Mm-hmm. I find that the world is not as bad as the media makes it be. Mm. And one of the things that I know to be true is that if we were to just go outdoors and meet our neighbors, that we'd find out that the world is not on fire and that there are very good people doing great things. It just doesn't get highlighted. So make no mistake, there is a lot of positivity that is out there. Focus your mind on things that you can change. We can't change the COVID virus. Now, also make sure that you're practicing social distance, right? Don't ignore that. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying there's a lot more that we can do to get what we want. It's not vacation time. It is not vacation time. Get to work, connect with your neighbors, change what you can change domestically. Look into your neighborhoods, get connected with people. That's one thing that I miss. I grew up, there was a time to where I lived in a trailer. Mm-hmm. So I don't want people to think that I grew up in privilege. I do live in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was not born here. I do not have a trust fund, and I never have. In fact, we come from very humble beginnings. But one thing that I loved about my dad is even though he was in an environment to where maybe there wasn't as much wealth, he taught us principles of love your neighbor, right? Make sure that you're connecting with people. That's one of the most valuable resources we have on the planet is people. And we forget about that. Care about the people in your neighborhood. If people are suffering, you can do something about it. It pays in the end. Yes. We think that it doesn't carry value because we don't see an instant paycheck. But the relationships that we're going to build during this frame, during this COVID virus, is going to determine where our outcome is. It's going to create or give us the altitude economically that we want. Those relationships are the most valuable thing we have in life. Now is the best time that we can connect with people. Do it via Zoom. Just drop cookies off at their front door and then run away, or just do something nice. And when you do things for people, you'll notice that the money will follow. That's the one message I have, is that don't think that your neighbor's your enemy. They're actually your greatest resource. And there's so much positivity. Focus on the dissemination of positivity. Forget about what is so. We can't change it. There is a virus. Don't be the virus, right? Don't spread it. If you're going to spread it, keep it positive, keep it of a good nature. That's the one thing I have for today.
Wow, what positivity and love to end on. Thank you so much, Cord, for just sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and your wonderful positive millionaire mindset. We thank you so much. We see LaNette is saying, hey, send me the info. Absolutely, guys. Just inbox me on Facebook. If you have my phone number, definitely you can send me a text. I want to make this free for other people to share, so I won't give my phone number on here. But definitely, if you feel this information was of value, and it was, share it with some other people, put it in their inbox, run a watch party with this information. And Cord, we are all so grateful that you took the time to pour into us this morning. So again, we thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, you are more powerful than you know. And now you have more information to help you to be even more powerful. And I know you're going to take action. So with that, guys, go out here and create a great day for yourself. This video is officially over, and we'll see you at the top. Bye-bye.
To your success. Bye.
Yeah.